That's Kara.
Anyone in person can start.
Okay.
Oh, we should go. Oh, okay. Gotcha. I'll start. Welcome back.
Welcome back.
I guess maybe welcome back to us.
Yeah, welcome back to you all. Yeah.
Just what's this last, I guess, several weeks, month of preparation been like, as all of this kind of gets closer, Friday, you guys are actually going to play a game.
Right.
What's this time been like for you, especially with kind of the new responsibilities?
Yeah, as you can imagine, a lot of planning these last few weeks. Obviously, you have the draft. So, a good chunk of time is taken up getting ready for the draft in March and early April. But at the same time, you're trying to organize who's getting into town and who you're going to sign for camp. We did quite a bit early around free agency in terms of signing people for camp. But, as you get closer, you're just trying to follow your ones overseas. And we're lucky that everybody is here, which is, I don't know if we've ever had that before, where everybody's actually in camp at the start. So now it's a little bit more, the last couple of weeks, coaches planning practice and, the calendar for camp, but also trying to figure out where each player's at, physically, mentally, and how we build them up in a smart way. People are in different situations. We've got a group that's coming back and has been playing a lot. We have the group that's kind of been here ramping up, and then we have a few that haven't played much. And we're just trying to be smart with them so that, everybody is ready when we need them to be. And that's not necessarily day one at the start, but for some people it is. Some people they're kind of hitting full stride right now and ramping it up. And then there's a couple that we just need to manage and make sure they don't do too much early on. So that's kind of the job of coaches and medical staff to sync and make sure everybody's in a good place.
Coach, good to see you.
Morning.
I know you've had a lot of players already in London, been working out, practicing for the past several months. What do you think of where your team is at now with all those players that have already been here, ready to go, and are just training camp isn't the beginning of the season for them. They're already building up through the season. Right.
It's huge. And we've been able to get, a few of our ones that are on training camp contracts, and as well as our draft pick, Elena, that have gotten some reps with our concepts. They've been able to play. They've been able to get to know their teammates a little bit, been able to get our practice guys in here. So it's good. I think it lets us, as we get into practice, maybe spend a little less time having to stop, teach, let everybody get cold. So we're able to hopefully just hit camp at a higher tempo, given that everybody's got a little bit of a base of info about what we're trying to do.
Question for you about two specific players, Shakira and Maisha. So on the Shakira front, just curious, are you looking for her to take kind of a sophomore leap this year, or is it like you have so much talent around her, you basically just need her to be an even more efficient version of what she was last year? And then on the Maisha front, just what can you update us on her timeline?
I think with Shakira, probably both the things you said. I mean, she should take a leap, but that's partly not trying to be somebody brand new. She should just be a better version every year, hopefully, that she comes back. Clearly, for those that have followed her playing in Israel, she's added some things to her game. She's expanded her game, but we also know this level of competition in our league is a step up from that. So I think her teammates and coaches have a lot of faith that she can do more than she showed last year. But some of that is just, being smart about what she adds to her game, how it fits within our team structure. And, she's going to have to make some mistakes. That's part of growing as a player. Year two, we're going to let her try some things and, roll with a couple of mistakes along the way, but that's not unique to her. That's across our roster. But, I think we've challenged her to be great, and that's what she wants to be. And that's what excited us about drafting her in the first place, is we felt that, that drive from her. So we're going to push her and let her try some things and see where it takes us. As for Maisha, she's making really good progress. She will probably do bits and pieces, but she's kind of on her own category in a little bit of a way of, she's still in more of a return to play rehab stage, but that is starting to ramp up now. So we don't have a timetable of, when she'll be full go, but you can see her progressing a lot.
I remember when Maisha had the surgery and Coach K was telling us about it, the projected recovery time was like 3 to 4 months. So is there like a setback, another surgery? Like why was it a little slower?
No additional surgery. There was just you know, a couple things that just took a little bit longer to work through. You know, as everybody knows with Maisha, that's a powerful body. And that means sometimes it takes, you know, those muscles a little bit of time to fire up the way she needs them to. So we worked through those, and it's definitely been, you know, smoother progress the last, I would say at least the last month.
Hi, Coach, how are you?
Morning.
I had a question about Christy Oliver.
Mhm.
Of course, she's no stranger to this team at all, being part of the 2019 championship team. But what are your plans to reincorporate her into the starting lineup or possibly as a sixth member?
Yeah, I think it's, I mean, to be honest with you, we don't try to decide too many things about lineups or rotation. We certainly have some ideas. You know, Christy hasn't played since the end of last season. You know, she's been in the coaching role, as everybody knows. Mentally, the best thing about Christy is mentally it doesn't take her much time. You know, she's going to come in and being able to pick up things pretty quickly. Physically, we're going to be smart with her. We're not going to run her into the ground the first week of camp. We're going to let her build back up the way she needs to be ready to play. You know, her and I have talked about having her at her best when it counts. And we're not going to just burn that out the first few days of practice. As for role, I think that, you know, it's going to depend a little bit on where she's at physically, but we've got a lot of good players, and I'm not going to make any decisions about rotation or minutes day one of camp.
Eric, I'll shoot back to Shakira for a minute.
Mhm.
What did she show you last year? Anything that surprised you, or things that you think that she needed to work on specifically?
I think maybe one thing, I think we got what we expected in terms of her defense. You know, you're just always curious how somebody's going to do it at this level as a rookie. And I think, you know, the reason that she played the minutes that she did and that she had the role that she did was a lot of what she was good at in college transferred. Being able to talk defensively, being able to pick up concepts. I think year 2, she should, you know, now have a little bit of a book on the personnel in the league. And that should give her a head start compared to where she was a year ago. But I think one thing that surprised us last year offensively was, you know, we didn't call any plays for her, but she had a pretty good natural feel of how to play off Elena, how to play off our guards, how to, you know, even though she's not a 3-point shooter, how to use space and not get in the way and not crowd things. So now it's about, you know, those things. One, can she continue developing her skills? But, you know, 2, can she just make that next jump now in terms of understanding our offense, understanding her teammates, understanding where she can pick her spots to be aggressive. And then we got to play to her strengths as well.
Hey, Coach, how you doing?
Morning.
Good to see you. Like with myself, I have mentors. You, your father. You want to take stuff from their game, but not all of it. What can we expect to see you take from your father's coaching style, but also having your own unique style as well?
The first thing is, you know, the environment he's created here. He's created an environment, you know, coming in 2013 where everybody feels like they can grow and get better and be themselves. And I will feel like will have carried that on if our players and staff all feel the same way during my tenure here. So I think that's the biggest thing, the way we treat people, the way we expect people to act. As for what I bring myself, I think I'm going to let other people be the judge of that a little bit. I'm going to be myself. We'll do some things offensively a little bit differently. Maybe the day-to-day operation in practice and the timing of how we do things will be a little bit different, but you know, we change things year to year as it was. So, you know, to say like I didn't have any hand in anything the past 10 years, you know, I don't want to say that was all on him and now this is all on me. That's not how we work. So everybody had a voice previously. Everybody on staff will have a voice now. And, you know, we'll see what a team looks like, but, you know, it won't be an Eric Thibault team. It'll be a Mystics team.
And one more for you. I know it's a grueling, long season. What self-care practices do you think to put in place for yourself as you come on this new journey as a head coach?
There's 3:30 in the morning feedings for the baby count as self-care. Might have the opposite effect. Yeah. No, I think, you know, we've always been conscious as a group of not burning the candle at both ends in terms of coaches and players. We've always prioritized rest, you know, when we think about our travel schedules, but no, I think I've got a great support system, good family. Our players here are extremely supportive of coaches and players alike. That's a two-way street. And, just for me, it's about finding a little bit of a new workflow. I've been in very much, an assistant coach life where you're deep into scouting reports, and, your position group. And I got to take a little bit higher view, 30,000 foot view of the operation. I've got to figure out how my operation is going to work, or my workflow is going to work around, opponent prep. And, but my biggest thing is to have a focus on us and to have a good feel on the day-to-day pulse of our team. I think that's where I'll spend a lot of my time. Yep.
Coach, regarding.
Morning, Christy.
Good morning, Eric. How are you?
Great.
Regarding the philosophy, just kind of tagging on what Wayne was talking about, but with Natasha Cloud being who she is, and now with the return of Christy Tolliver, I know when they played together before, they were playing together a lot. Do you foresee that tandem continuing now that Tolliver's back here?
Yes, I don't know in terms of if we take each of their minutes, how much will be together, how much will be staggered, because we also have Brittany Sykes in the mix, who will get her reps at point guard as well. So being able to rotate the three of them, and probably have two ball handlers on the court a lot of the time. And we've got somebody in Ariel Atkins who has now got some point guard reps with USA Basketball. I don't know how much somebody like Ariel will be a true point guard, but I think the idea is to have as many playmakers and ball handlers on the floor as we can. So they've always complemented each other too, Tosh and Christy, because they can both shoot off the ball, they can both handle the ball. And that's kind of the approach we're looking at for our guard rotation in general. And, our bigs are going to want to handle the ball too.
Hi, Coach. How are you doing?
Good morning. How are you?
Good, good. I have a question about Chinese player Lima.
Mm-hmm.
What kind of role you expect her to play in the team?
So Li Meng, I think, we were intrigued certainly by a few things. One, she's an outstanding shooter. She's got some size. She, I think, expressed to us a willingness and an ability to, make some plays with the ball in her hands. And we've seen that since she's been here working out. As for role, the way we've kind of broken it to our players is, things that they are committed to in areas where they can grow. And so, a big thing for her is going to be to shoot it when she's open, to, grow and adapt to our league on defense, and to be able to make some plays when the ball is swung to her and she doesn't have a shot and she needs to run some pick and roll or make a play off the dribble. So, the biggest thing for her the first couple of weeks is just to get used to how we're doing things, to figure out the differences in style between where she's played and the WNBA. But I would say she's off to a great start based on what we've seen so far. Yep.
There, you mentioned, you guys always tweak things from year to year, but you also said the offense will look a little bit different without giving away the game plan. Can you detail a little bit more of that for us, where you think things might look a little bit different than what we've seen in the past?
I think we know we have to play with a little bit more pace. And we talked, in our team meeting last night about the actual pace stat can be a little misleading because it's a number of possessions. And, we've never been a high turnover team. Sometimes you can be a faster team by turning it over a bunch, and that's not what we want to do. We know we need to play with a better tempo. And, as I mentioned before, having a lot of ball handlers, a lot of playmakers, we need to open the court back up. You might see a little bit more kind of 5-out offense. Definitely things that we've done before, but a little bit more of a premium on it. We have to, we've talked about our players that even if they're not great 3-point shooters, have to be great spacers. And so, early offense, having a little bit more variety to what we do early is going to be a big thing. And, I think we're going to get into a little bit more off-ball stuff. We became probably too much of a pick and roll team. And sometimes that's just nature of your personnel. But we became a little bit too much of a pick and roll team, and we need to have a little bit more variety. Even people that are pick and roll players can do other things.
And a quick follow-up, we haven't asked about Elena yet.
Yeah, that's a record, by the way. I'm marking it down.
We can't believe you made it this long. There's been a lot of talk about her off season as, just working on her game, getting stronger, no longer thinking about the back and rehab stuff. So what have you seen from her? Does she, I don't know what does Elena 3.0 look like these days? And how do you visualize kind of using her and her, I guess, developed skill set this year in however way?
I mean, you mentioned the strength, and the strength is the first thing that I think has stood out with everybody that's been here working out with her. She has such a good base right now, a good feel to her body. I think we're going to ask her to, she's expressed a desire to using her voice more, really understanding what we're trying to do at both ends and being able to, she's a vet. She's like one of the vets now. She's one of the older players on our team, and establishing not only how we want to play, but how we want to act, what our expectations, our standards are day to day. And in terms of her actual skills, we don't need to change too much about Elena's game. It's worked pretty well. So just trying to find, what are the right spots to use her? How can we avoid her having to play against physical switches and double teams all the time? Last year, even though she played a lot of games, we didn't get a lot of practice time. And, that the way that, she sees every coverage from opposing teams. And so we've got to have some time with her to be able to work through those things and collectively understand how she's being played. It's important that the whole group understands how your best player is being defended. So hopefully just having a little better collective awareness of all those situations will make life easier for her. Yeah.
Coach, from the macro perspective of where the game is right now and the growth that we've seen with the 2023 NCAA tournament, how can the league capitalize on the acceleration of women's sports right now and be able to make this a great season across the board, media, TV ratings, stuff like that?
That's the $1 million or the multi-million-dollar question. I think our players understand their responsibility in it. Coaches understand, but really the players understand their part in growing our game. But I think the media has realized, or is starting to realize, that there are stories to tell that are interesting to people. It's great when you have a little chippiness, a rivalry on the court, and there's great players to sell, but there's great stories in this league, whether it's the superstars or the people who are, trying to make rosters for the first time. And I think you're seeing more and more media platforms want a piece of that. Obviously we have a lot of people in the room today, but Ion Sports is the latest to jump into the league for a real financial commitment. And, hopefully that's the next piece in growth. We all want expansion. I think we're all, I'm not privy to any special details on that, certainly that I can share, but I think we all see that down the road as a big next step, and hopefully the signs are all pointing in the right direction. Now we just have to capitalize on it.
Ask the first question.
Hello.
How many minutes do you expect her to play in the preseason?
We'll see. It'll probably depend on how many people we take with us to Minnesota, and then how many people will have a uniform for the game against Atlanta. So more than 0. Besides that, I won't give you a certain number. Yeah.
Jackie.
Hi, Eric. Thanks so much for taking the time. Good to see you.
Hi, Jackie. I can't actually see you, but I can hear you.
Okay, good. I'm glad you can hear me. So the first question I have for you, and just sort of listening to this fascinating availability, is, obviously Brittany Sykes was a huge acquisition in the offseason, and she isn't known to be sort of the three-point shooter that, you guys have prided yourselves on having. And you said something really interesting. You said that there's a difference between being a great three-point shooter and being a great floor spacer. So I'm curious if you can explain what that difference is there and how that might apply to someone like Brittany.
Couple parts. One, we do want her to be a better three-point shooter, and we think that's something she can be. We've seen different parts of her career where she was an excellent outside shooter, certainly coming out of college. So part of it for us is helping her get back to being a good three-point shooter. But and another part of it with her is she is a good playmaker for others. So allowing our shooters around her to open up the floor for her to attack the rim and get in the paint and kick out for threes. But players that have an awareness of how not to crowd the action that's taking place, whether it's, Elena getting double teamed, or, Ariel or Tosh in a pick and roll, and how do they play off of that? When's the right time to cut? Not bringing your defender into space early. And then how can I make, quick decisions when I get the ball to not catch and hold against the shifting defense. And we think one of the best things that Slim does is, as the ball gets reversed to her, even if she's not going to shoot it, and we'd like her to shoot open shots, but if she's not going to shoot it, being able to attack a defense in the middle of rotation and make the next play. So, that goes for bigs and guards alike. Just because you may not shoot a ton of threes, you can still space and make a play in space when the ball heads your way.
I appreciate that, because people tend to conflate both together. 3-point shooting means spacing. So for me to understand
it does to a degree, but you could still contribute to spacing even without, the shooting.
For sure. And also something I wanted to ask you about is, obviously this is the first season where prioritization is coming into effect. And so I've heard that, this season there's a little bit more flexibility at training camp when it comes to the amount of players you guys can have in camp. So I'm just curious, sort of early on, how that flexibility has affected you guys. I mean, you've been through so many training camps. So what sort of has that flexibility done to sort of help you guys move along?
I think the biggest thing is it helped us and other teams that, you weren't actually sure when your players were going to get here, because, we have the prioritization on the calendar or in the CBA, but that didn't mean that necessarily each player was going to be on time for camp. There was going to be fines as they were late, but we actually ended up in a situation where everybody was on time. And, it forced us to, or allowed us not to have to cut people just because we had vets showing up on time. So, I think it was a good common sense kind of policy from the league that, we're going to try to ease some people back in. We have some people returning from injury, and it allows us to make sure we had enough bodies. So I think that was a good move all around.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Last question to Michael.
Yeah, Coach Thibault, you mentioned that you're looking for Elena to use her voice even more. What does that look like specifically at this point in her career, with the knowledge she has, with everything she's been through? Can you maybe get into some specifics about how she uses her voice more?
I think there's the on the court and the off court piece of using her voice. And on court, I think she's just, as she's played in the league, and she's played a lot of games now and been around USA basketball, and, she's seen a lot. And as she has, become a more and more savvy player over the years, I think now she's in a position where she can help teammates see what she sees. And as I was saying before, she's usually the one that sees the variety of coverages from other teams. So being able to quickly relay to teammates how she's being played, what she sees defensively, those are important things. We talk about having a lot of small, productive conversations. Doesn't have to be big, grand, philosophical points, but quick discussions about, hey, they're playing me like this. Next time down, let's do this. And then Elena, I think, has a strong, kind of internal compass about what this should feel and look like. So when we have certain standards as a team, it's on her as it is on the coaches and some of her veteran teammates to make sure we're at those standards. And I think she has a real good sense of, if things slip, what needs to be corrected, and being willing to and able to speak up on it.
Thanks, Eric. Elena will be up momentarily.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks, Eric.